Cast doing something a little different on this one. Derek and I are still both in here after watching the Thursday night game together, and good Lord, was it gross.
Yeah.
Um, Derek, I'll let you start off with talking about Buffalo, who won the game 31-10, but the fantasy performance in this one.
Was not great for a lot of our pieces in Buffalo. Josh Allen just simply didn't. A lot of these, like, the pass attack just didn't have to do anything. Josh Allen threw the ball 19 times. He completed 13 of them for 139 yards. He had a touchdown. He didn't even really have to run. He ran it twice for 2 yards, finishing with 9.8. Not exactly how I imagined Josh Allen not having a great fantasy finish, was them just not needing to do anything, but here we are. Things do happen. For Josh Allen owners, that is not the greatest start to this week, especially how we saw him perform last week. His receivers obviously felt that pretty heavily. The one that didn't was Khalil Shakir. He caught all 5 of his targets for 54 yards, giving and a carry for 2 yards, giving him 10.6. If you spot started Khalil Shakir at the flex, that's a solid performance. I mean, honestly, you don't expect too much more from him. He exceeded his projected points. A very solid week for him. We saw Dalton Kincaid get a little bit more involved, especially early in the game. This one got out of hand fast and stayed that way, so they just genuinely didn't pass. But it was good to see Dalton Kincaid get involved, caught all 4 of his targets for 33 yards, given a 7.3. Still not a fantastic week, but obvious improvement from last week. I will take it. And it does show, if they are in games, which they will be, where they need to pass the ball more frequently, Kincaid is going to be a prominent part of that offense. So that's a good sign. The not so good sign was Keon Coleman only being targeted 1 time, which he did not catch. So if you did happen to start him, he gave you a goose egg. I mean, I'd like to say better weeks
That
are
was rough.
coming, and I'm sure they are, but that's a tough one this early. Curtis Samuel, at this point, I'm out on Curtis Samuel. I think he is going to be the odd man out. He's kind of that 4th option in the receiver room. He got 2 targets. He caught one of them for 3 yards, giving you 1.3. Tyler Bass was having a solid day until his last field goal gave me flashbacks of last season when he was on my team. He finished with 7 points, but good Lord, that last field goal was terrible. The second highest scorer on the Bills was their defense with 18. Ty Johnson got some garbage time play, carried it once for a negative yard, caught one of his 2 targets for 33 yards, giving him 4.2. Ray Davis had some solid carries. He was decently involved. He's the number 2 back by far in Buffalo. Carried it 9 times for 29 yards. Caught his only target for -1 yard, giving him 3.8. And our superstar of the day. And the crazy part is most of this came, if dang near all of this came early for him.
It all pretty much came in the first half, yeah.
Yeah, and then he coasted. James Cook finished the game with only 11 carries for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also caught his only target very early in the game for a 17-yard touchdown. So a 3-touchdown day for James Cook. He doubled the points of the Dolphins by himself, and he gave us 28 and a half fantasy. It's what happened, though. He did. He gave us 28 and a half fantasy points. If you have James Cook, and obviously you started him, that is an incredible start to the week. That is what we look for. And I'm glad to see we saw one drive where Ray Davis kind of took them down the field. And it's the opposite of last year. When they get in the red zone, they get around the goal line. Now James Cook is coming in instead of coming out. So even more exciting things there. But yeah, that's really it for the Bills. They dominated this game.
Oh, they did. And James Cook looked absolutely great. I'm a little less worried about Kincaid after this game.
Yeah.
He was out there. Allen was looking to him when he was throwing the ball. He was running routes, getting open, being a mismatch as he should be. 7.3-point day, given what everybody else got. I mean, Khalil Shakir is going to be involved on this
Yeah.
offense. That is a given at this point. Josh Allen trusts him. He's the only returning receiver from last year. But yeah, as far as just the necessity to do anything at all, there was none. The
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the first half, the score was 24-10. They came in, started the second half. It was 3-and-out by the Bills, and then Tua throws a pick six. So the defense got them that 31-10 point lead, which never changed from the start of the third quarter.
Yeah.
Then Tua goes out of the game on the next drive, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and
That was it.
from there, it was a Skylar Thompson led game. Guys started getting pulled. By the end of the game, Reek and Waddle weren't even on the field.
Yeah.
So there was that. I'm still at a point where it's like we're still kind of waiting to see the true identity of this Buffalo Bills offense. It was a
Mm-hmm.
little weird in week one. Week two, they didn't have to do anything. Um, I think next week, they have Jacksonville, which I would hope is a bit more of a challenge and they
Yeah.
have to do a bit more. So we'll see how that goes. On to the Dolphins side of the ball, which, wow, is all I could really say. Um, as I said, Tua got hurt in this game, but he was 17 for 25 for 145 yards, a touchdown, and three interceptions, one of them going the other way for six. Before he got hurt, also ran the ball twice for 17 yards, which is very abnormal for him. Finished with 8.5 points, but some of the stuff, one of the interceptions was to Grant DeBose, and it pretty much hit him. It was a good play by the DB, but you could just tell it's like not the timing wasn't there. And then the time on the second one with Robbie Chosen, the timing was not there yet again. Chosen stopped on the route, and Tua thought he was going to keep going. Throws an easy like pop up drill pick, and the third one he's getting chased down, and for some reason decides to
Chalk it up to
make an
nothing.
awful attempt at throwing it out of bounds. Doesn't even reach the sideline. Ends up being another pop up drill that goes for six. So as you can imagine, none of the pass catchers did too well. The only one who had a decently good game on the Dolphins had an amazing game actually, and that was Devon Achan. Granted, a lot of the I'd say a big bulk of the points came after the second half when
Mm-hmm.
all the offense was just like handoff or dump to Achan. That was the only thing that was really working, aside from the little passes to Jonnu Smith, who was extremely involved in this game.
Yeah.
But Achan had 22 attempts for 96 yards and also caught all seven of his receptions yet again this week
Yeah.
for 69 yards and a touchdown, finishing with 29.5 fantasy points. He was great in this one. It was very clear that with Raheem Mostert out, and Achan was we said there was positivity surrounding like his chances to start today. He did. He was able to clearly go full time, had a workhorse role with 22 carries. Um, and like I said, he touched the ball 29 times,
Yeah.
which is absolutely insane for Achan because he's a guy who the what we worry about is the volume.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a whole crap ton of it tonight on, going into a game where he was a game time decision.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, the other two running backs didn't really prosper. Jalen Wright got 5 total carries in this game for 4 yards. So as far as I'm concerned, I already went ahead and dropped Jalen Wright to kind of make space to
Yeah.
move Jonathan Brooks back off the PUP here in a couple weeks. But just what I really saw is, yeah, they gave him a few runs. They didn't run. Jeff Wilson didn't get any carries, but he got 2 targets, I believe. Yes, 2 targets that he caught both of for 12 yards. So he
Mm-hmm.
still outscored Jalen Wright, but it was the Achan show and nothing else.
Yeah.
Um, Getting into the receivers, where technically Achan was the leading receiver, catching all seven of his passes for those 69 yards and a touchdown. But the next guy, nobody's going to want to hear. and that's Jonnu Smith. We're reliving the Jonnu Smith experience, just in Miami this time. Caught 6 of his 7 targets for 53 yards, getting him 11.3 fantasy points, the most for all Dolphins pass catchers not named Devon Achane.
Yeah.
As I said, he was very involved in this game. It really did not seem like they were trying to go too far down the field at all. They
Yeah.
got down by a score and kept throwing short, got down by 2 and kept, going with the little screens and intermediate. And it wasn't really working because the Bills were just rallying to the ball. So the speed was, they weren't able to get all the yards after the catch, and they weren't throwing the ball downfield. So that's kind of what we had. And Waddle was the next best guy, catching all 4 of his targets for 41 yards, 8.1 fantasy points. As you can see where we're going with this, Tyreek Hill did not have any semblance of a good day.
No.
He finished with 3 catches on 6 targets for 24 yards, also added in a rush for 12 yards, finishing at 6.6 points for a guy who you drafted 1, 2, or 3 in your
Yeah.
fantasy draft. Granted, everybody is going to have these kinds of games. We saw one out of Amon-Ra in week 1. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. Granted, this came at the cost of Tua getting another concussion, which that is seriously like, for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle owners, I'd say we are hitting the red alert.
Yeah, this is
We
doomsday.
are, we're panicking.
Yeah.
I don't believe that should Tua miss. And see, that's the hard part about it is with Tua's history with the concussions, we don't necessarily know how they're going to operate with this. Obviously, we'll have updates as the days go on, but right now, I mean, it's looking very bleak. And if Skylar Thompson has to go next week, I'm fairly worried for the production of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. A-Chan will be fine
Yeah.
because I mean, as you saw on that last drive of the game, he got like 2 16-yard catches, and
Why
they
is he even
will
in the game?
continue. No idea, but they will continue to pepper
Yeah.
him with targets regardless of who the quarterback is, clearly. And I mean, the rest of the guys, Grant DeBose, Robbie Chosen, just irrelevant. Um, but that's what we had. And then Jason Sanders hit his lone field goal attempt and extra point attempt for 4 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we got. It was not quite the game where we were expecting. Obviously, didn't live up to the 48-point line, but yeah, I mean, hopefully Tua gets better. It sucks to see him get another
Mm-hmm.
concussion, and he, hit pretty hard. It was he should have slid obviously, but it was he's trying to be a hero, going for those extra. I mean, it happens. It's the game of football,
Yeah.
and yeah, just hope he gets better. But that'll about wrap it up. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, anything you got to add for this one?
No, just like you said, we have to wait and see about Tua, but yeah, we have to wait and see if it's Skylar Thompson for extended amounts of time. Whew, I'm very
Yeah,
just very scared for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle owners. That is the worst possible. I can't imagine them not going out and getting a quarterback. There have to be free agent quarterbacks out there that can produce more than Skylar Thompson at this time. There just has to be.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
But it was a bit disheartening, to say the least. See Tua go down again,
for sure.
but another one in the books, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we say every episode, thank you again, and come back next time. Take more reps with the first team.
Yes, sir.